joining me today. I'm Michelle Collins. I'm an ACE certified personal trainer and fitness nutrition specialist. And today we're doing Nutrition 101. And specifically what I'm going to be talking about very simply today are what are the different types of nutrients in our foods and what our bodies need them for, because there's a lot of noise out there about whether it be in news articles that are sort of summarizing certain nutrition studies, or whether it's just information that's on the front of packaged foods. We're just bombarded with a lot of words like carbohydrates, low carbohydrate, high carbohydrate, gluten, things like this, that unless you have a real basic nuts and bolts understanding, it really is just noise and doesn't really help you make good choices when you're purchasing foods. So this is going to be a brief sort of nuts and bolts overview of nutrients so that you can make better choices when you're purchasing food in a grocery store or even ordering a meal at a restaurant. You'll understand exactly what it is that you're consuming and what your body needs and maybe doesn't need that might be in some of the foods that you're consuming. So without further ado, let's do some Nutrition 101. Okay, so let's get started with macronutrients. Macronutrients are basically three types of nutrients that we all need on a daily basis. And pretty much anything we consume, whether it's solid food or liquids, with the exception of plain water, contains at least one macronutrient. So there are three types. There are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And to make this simple, let's just have a key word for each one of these so that we understand exactly what function each of these plays in our bodies. So proteins can be known as the growth macronutrient. And it's not just growth as in fetal growth or even growth when we are children or adolescents, but also it's the regrowth of cells that are damaged or anything in our bodies that's damaged in any way, muscles, or even cuts that we might have. We need proteins to repair those cells, which then repair the area that is damaged. Carbohydrates are the energy macronutrient. We couldn't do anything. Our hearts wouldn't pump. We couldn't stand up and walk without carbohydrates. We couldn't digest without carbohydrates. It provides the fuel, really, carbohydrates do, for everything that our bodies do voluntarily and involuntarily. And then there are fats. And I like to consider fats sort of the support function because in order for proteins and carbohydrates to get their jobs done, to be able to do what it is they do, and for many vitamins to be able to do what it is they do in our bodies, we need fats. In addition, they're also completely necessary for the health of our cell membranes and all of our organs, including our brains. We need fats. Now, individually, let's talk about proteins first. Proteins are also known as amino acids. So if you see that word, you know that refers to proteins. There are many, many types of proteins, but there are 9 that are called essential proteins or essential amino acids. And that just basically means that our bodies cannot produce these proteins, that we need to get these from our diets. And so they're also known, if you have a food product that has all 9 essential amino acids in it, those are known as complete proteins. And all types of meat, animal meat, including fish, contains complete proteins, as well as eggs and dairy. Many types of produce, plant products, do contain some of the proteins, but there are only a few that contain all 9 essential proteins. And those are quinoa, the grain quinoa, soy, and chia seeds are the only plant products that contain all 9 essential amino acids. Grains, nuts, and seeds are examples of plant products that contain some proteins, but not all. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, like we said, provide energy, and those are found in most plant products, grains, vegetables, and fruits. Those are primarily carbohydrates. Fats. This is probably the most misunderstood macronutrient that is. Fats, otherwise known as fatty acids, are absolutely essential to us being fit and healthy. There are 2 types of fats. There are saturated fats, which generally speaking are solid at room temperature, and unsaturated fats, which again, generally speaking, are liquid at room temperature. Most of your saturated fats would come from animals or animal products. So again, all meats, like mammal meats and poultry, will have saturated fats. Dairy, also saturated fats, but there are a couple of plant products that have naturally contained saturated fats, and that would be coconut oil, palm oil, and avocado oil. Avocados contain saturated fat. Now, with the unsaturated fats, there are 2 different types. There's monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, and the mono and the poly really just are specifically describing the molecules that make up the fatty acids. So monounsaturated fats, which are known to be very healthy fats, are primarily in our diets. We get them from olive oil and canola oil. Polyunsaturated fats come in 2 different ways. And both of these are getting a lot of press these days, the omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatories, and omega-6 fatty acids are pro-inflammatories. Now, a lot of people think, well, you should have all anti-inflammatory and no pro-inflammatory. Well, that's actually not true. We do need some pro-inflammatories because inflammatories are what helps our body react to foreign agents. Like, for example, when you get a virus, a cold virus or the flu virus, it is your body, with the aid of antioxidants that we have consumed in our diets, pro-inflammatory antioxidants, which allow our bodies to become inflamed in order to fight those foreign agents in the body. So both are important. The problem is that the Western diet has a huge imbalance between omega-3s and omega-6s. It's okay to have a little bit more omega-6s in your diet than omega-3s, but it's not okay to have a lot more. And the average Western diet consumes omega-6 fatty acids to omega-3 fatty acids at a ratio of sometimes as much as 20-1, and that's just way, way too much. So omega-3s, it's important to try to get more of these into your diet. You can get omega-3 fatty acids from fish and eggs, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, and hemp seeds. But fish is the best way to get ample amounts of omega-3s that can be easily absorbed by our bodies. Now, omega-6 fatty acids are the fatty acids that are found in most other produce that contains fats, like many grains and beans and seeds and nuts. So you would find a lot of omega-6 fatty acids in oils that are made from those products. So soybean oil is probably the worst culprit for having way too many omega-6 fatty acids in it, as well as seed oils except for the seeds that I mentioned that have omega-3 fatty acids in them. Let's move to micronutrients. So micronutrients, otherwise known as vitamins and minerals. So these are sort of the other things that are contained in foods that are macronutrients, but they serve specific purposes within our bodies. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over what each vitamin and mineral does in our bodies, but they're all beneficial. And they're contained in varying amounts. Some types of foods contain a lot of certain types of vitamins and don't contain any of other types of vitamins. So the best way to ensure that you're getting enough of the micronutrients is to eat a wide variety of both plant and animal foods. And when you're eating vegetables and fruits, think about getting a wide variety of colors into your diet, because usually the color of fruits and vegetables have an indication of what types of vitamins and minerals are contained within. So if you're eating a variety of colors, it probably means that you're getting a little bit of every type of micronutrient. So like I said, micronutrients include vitamins. Vitamins are either water soluble or fat soluble. Water soluble vitamins include the vitamin B complex and vitamin C. So water soluble vitamins, I guess it's sort of self-explanatory that they need water in order to be absorbed. And since our bodies are made up of mostly water, they are easily absorbed and metabolized quickly. So it means we have to replenish these vitamins on a daily basis. But as long as you're eating a balanced diet, you're getting enough of the vitamin B complex and vitamin C. Now, the fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K. And these need to be consumed with dietary fats in order to be absorbed. So if you're not eating enough fats, then your body can't absorb these vitamins, even if you're consuming them, even in large quantities. And then there are minerals, which are separate from vitamins, and you can see them listed there. And one note about, I just want to make one note about antioxidants, because that's another thing that we hear a lot about. Antioxidants are a class of nutrients, vitamins and minerals in particular, that reduce inflammation and repair cell damage by absorbing free radicals throughout the body. Now, free radicals are released, or in other words, oxidized, when cells are damaged due to poor nutrition. Sedentary lifestyles can produce cell damage, inhaling or ingesting pollutants and toxins, sun damage, and the aging process all can create cell damage, as well as infections from viruses, bacteria, and fungi. So the cell damage also causes inflammation. And some damage or inflammation is acute, as in you get a cold virus, and so the inflammation lasts for as long as the cold virus is there, and then once your body fights off, everything gets repaired. But the thing we need to worry about the most is when the cell damage or the inflammation is chronic, and that's when it can lead to disease. So if we are living very sedentary lifestyles and we're eating a lot of foods that promote inflammation, we can get into that chronic inflammatory state, and that can cause diseases like diabetes and metabolic disorders, heart disease, and some cancers. So that's why it's important to be careful about not doing things and consuming things that cause inflammation, but also making sure you're getting enough of the antioxidant nutrients. So you will see that some of the minerals are antioxidants, including copper, iron, manganese, selenium, and zinc. There are also some minerals like calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium, which are considered electrolytes. Electrolytes contain ions, which, if you remember from high school chemistry are electrically charged molecules. And electrolytes exist in all bodily fluids, and they're necessary to maintain balance within our cells. And so anytime you lose a lot of bodily fluids, you need to replenish those electrolytes. And so obvious examples of that are if you do a lot of endurance workouts, workouts that last well over an hour, like if you're training for marathons, for example, you need to replenish electrolytes. If you are outside on a very hot and humid day for a long period of time, or if you're sick from, say, the stomach bug or something like that, where you've lost a lot of fluids, you need to replenish electrolytes, as well as water, obviously. So let's talk about some other types of nutrients. Fiber. Fiber actually is technically not a nutrient, but is essential for digestive health and an aid in weight control and to reduce the risk for colon cancer. So fiber is really important. The other great thing about fiber is if you eat foods that have a lot of fiber in it, it makes you feel satiated longer. So you tend not to overeat or overconsume in calories if you eat foods that are high in fiber. And there's soluble and insoluble fiber, and both are healthy. Doctors recommend that make sure you get enough insoluble fiber, but really both types of fiber are good for you. There's also prebiotics. Prebiotics are specific carbohydrates. They're not digested by the human body, but they feed the probiotics in our digestive system. Now, probiotics are actually bacteria that live in our digestive system. And there's good bacteria and bad bacteria that can get into our guts. But probiotics are the good bacteria, and you want to keep enough good bacteria in your digestive system. And there are some foods that are also considered probiotics, and they help to keep those that ratio of good bacteria up. And probiotics are healthy bacteria that mediate harmful bacteria in our digestive systems. And cultured foods like yogurts and kefir, and fermented foods like sauerkraut and soy sauce help maintain probiotic levels naturally in our bodies. And the last nutrient that I want to talk about is phytochemicals, also known as phytonutrients. And these are powerful antioxidants that are found in very small amounts in most plant-based foods. The scientific community is still discovering new phytonutrients all the time. Over 25,000 have been identified thus far, and many of them are subdivided into categories such as phytoestrogens, carotenes, polyphenolics. The largest category of phytochemicals are known as flavonoids. So if you hear any of these words, they're all phytochemicals. They're very powerful. The thing to keep in mind about this is that studies indicate that phytochemicals are most potent when they're consumed in the whole foods that contain them naturally. And they really don't work at all when scientists have tried to put them in supplement form and have people try to ingest the phytonutrients that way. The best way to get all vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients into our bodies is to eat them in the foods that contain them naturally, as opposed to taking them by supplement. So that's an overview of the types of nutrients in our foods and why it's important to maintain a healthy balance of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Because if you consume a wide variety of those three macronutrients, you're in all likelihood also consuming a wide variety of all the other micronutrients that our bodies need. So I hope that you've learned a little bit of something today about why we need macronutrients and micronutrients and other nutrients, and in what foods can you find them, so that it will help you make better choices. I wanted to keep this relatively brief and easy to absorb the information. So I didn't get into a whole lot of how much of each you should have, or what foods are better examples of certain nutrients than others. And I will be doing presentations on that. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, have a fit and happier day.